Okay, good morning. So we'll start now our discussion, and the topics that will be discussed today are elimination of arbitrary constants. The objective of this topic is on how to be able to arrive at a differential equation. And the next one will be families of curves. So you are going to obtain the differential equation of um, each family of curves. Okay, so so here are the criteria for a differential equation. And since given tayo dito ng solution or equation, and the objective is how to arrive at its differential equation. So the idea is that the order of that differential equation should be equal to the number of arbitrary constants that are present in the given equation. So for example, if the given equation is or contains two arbitrary constants, then we are expecting to have a differential equation with order 2. Okay, or order 2 or second order yung differential equation natin. If the equation contains one arbitrary constant, then its differential equation is a first order differential equation. Okay, consistent with that relation. And lastly, free from arbitrary constants. That's why if you can see from the given equation or differential equation na meron pang arbitrary constants doon sa mismong um, equation kung saan ka nag-undergo ng differentiation. So you have to make sure na ma-eliminate mo yung mga arbitrary constants to be able to determine, the differential equation of the given function or relation or equation. Okay, so basically the process here is by differentiation. Okay, we will differentiate the given function as many times depending on the number of arbitrary constants present in the equation. Okay, clear? So I think I have presented already the first example. So and that is, okay, y is equal to c sub 1 x squared plus c sub 2 x plus c sub 3. So as you noticed, this given equation contains three arbitrary constants. Okay, three. So yun yung una niyong gagawin. So examine niyo muna yung equation and identify kung ano yung mga arbitrary constants, kung ilan yung arbitrary constants. So in that way, you can be able to, decide or to do or kung ano yung magiging, kung ilang differentiation yung gagawin mo. Since meron tayong tatlong arbitrary constants, it means that this equation needs to be differentiated or kailangan kunin yung derivative niya 3 times para ma-obtain mo yung mismong differential or ordinary differential equation. So having said that, we will now um, differentiate this given equation 3 times. Okay? So you have to recall yung paano mag-differentiate, 'di ba? Ng mga functions, yung techniques, yung rules for differentiation. Now, y is the unknown function here and x will be the independent variable. So if you differentiate y, it will be, of course, with respect to the variable x. So it will be y prime y prime is equal to, you copy c sub 1, since this is constant, differentiate x squared, and that is 2 times x. So this is the first term. The second term here in the equation is c sub 2x. So differentiate this one, you copy c sub 2, and differentiate x with respect to the independent variable x, and that is c sub 2. Now, the last term here is c sub 3, and this is a constant. So differentiating a constant will give us the value 0. That's why we have this first equation. So ito pa lang ay yung first derivative. So we need to undergo pa two differentiations. Now, the next one, differentiating this equation, we have, if you differentiate y prime, this becomes y double prime. If you differentiate the first term here on the right-hand side of the equation, so you have 2c sub 1, you just copy this constant and differentiate x, and that is 1, right, with respect to x. So 1 siya. And the second term here on the right-hand side of the equation is 0. So this is now the resulting equation after doing it for the second time. Now, since this is not yet the final answer, sabi nga, di ba, the order of the DE is equal to the number of arbitrary constants. So ito second order pa lang to. We're expecting to have in our answer na ng third derivative sa equation. So we will differentiate this finally to give us its differential equation. And that is y double prime. Pag differentiate mo, magiging y triple prime or third derivative. And here on the right-hand side, so you have a constant, pure constant ito. So if you differentiate a constant, and that is 0. That's why its differential equation is y triple prime equal to 0. Okay? So this is our first example in obtaining or arriving at a differential equation of the given function or equation. Any questions here?
Sir, paano po pag C sub 1 x raised to cube? Apo.
C sub 1 x raised to 3.
Apo.
I-follow mo lang yung steps for differentiation. So maaaring hindi siya 0 yung sagot dito. So meron ka ng value dyan. And then you have to manipulate the equation in order to be able to do substitution. So pwede mong gamitin yung mga previous equations para makuha mo yung value ng arbitrary constant. The important thing here is that sa final answer, free na from arbitrary constants yung sagot mo. So in this case, yung ating example na to, we were able to eliminate the arbitrary constants by just differentiating alone, right? But in examples like once you have done the differentiation na process, tapos nakita mo na meron pang arbitrary constants, then you must do something how to eliminate that arbitrary constant. So you do substitution, okay? Or use the other equations to finally eliminate the arbitrary constants. Okay?
Sir, paano naman po pag y prime equals to y prime?
Y prime is equal to?
Y prime po.
Y prime is equal to y prime. That would not be
Pwede po
possible.
ba yan?
Okay. 0 na yung sagot mo. So may mali ka sa ginagawa mo. So you cannot be able to say na differential equation yan kasi pag y prime is equal to y prime, 0 yun. I mean, pag tinranspose mo. Di ba?
Yes, sir.
Sa kabilang side. So parang nag-ano ka lang. Y prime is equal to y prime. Anyway, so let's move on to the next example. So here, I have prepared a video. So I'll just, explain ko na lang yun sa video. So the next example here is y is equal to a cosine of x plus b. So itong x plus b na to ay ito yung argument ng ating trigo function or the angle, di ba? So x plus b nasa loob siya. Now, notice that you have two arbitrary constants here, okay? A and b. Clear? So having noticed and having said that this equation has two arbitrary constants, ibig sabihin, for me to arrive at its differential equation, so kailangan ko siyang i-differentiate ng dalawang beses. Okay, so that's the first rule. Okay, i-differentiate mo yung given equation as many times depending on the number of arbitrary constants that are present in the equation. Okay, clear? Now let's play the video. Okay. So here, ang ginawa na dito is, syempre yung first derivative. Kunin natin yung first derivative. So y prime is equal to, copy a since a is constant and differentiate mo yung cosine, and that is, anong derivative ng cosine? It's negative sine, right? So negative sine of the argument x plus b. So take note that in differentiating a trigo function, so kailangan mo rin i-differentiate yung argument niyan, ay itong mismong this one, okay, x plus b. So, and that derivative ng x plus b is equal to 1. Okay, then we take the second derivative. Ito na yung final differentiation since this equation contains two arbitrary constants. So differentiating y prime, we have y double prime. We copy, okay, negative a, and then differentiate natin yung sign, that is cosine of x plus b. Differentiate x plus b, and that is 1. Okay? So what have you noticed in the final equation? So hanggang dito lang tayo ha. Hindi ka na pwede mag-differentiate pa kasi you have only two arbitrary constants. Nakuha? So yung pag-differentiate mo, again, paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, nakadepende sa kung ilan yung arbitrary constants. Okay, so now after differentiating twice, you have noticed that the equation still contains an arbitrary constant. Okay? So anong gagawin natin? Ito na yung we have to eliminate the arbitrary constants in the final equation. Kasi andun na meron ka ng y double prime dun. So I have noticed that in the final equation here, itong a cosine of x plus b is equal to y dun sa given function natin. Diba? Yung given natin is y is equal to a cosine of x plus b. So now I can replace this a cosine of x plus b dun sa final answer ko. Therefore, in that way, I was able to eliminate the arbitrary constant. So ito lang, minus y lang siya because of the negative sign there. So this will be your final answer, or you can transpose the negative y dun sa right-hand side, dun sa, okay, wait. So here, pwede mo i-transpose dun sa left-hand side sa magiging y double prime plus y equal to 0. So this is now your final answer. Tandaan niyo yung final answer should not contain an arbitrary constant. Okay? Nakuha na?
Sir, mali po yung kapag y is equal to negative y double prime.
Ano ulit?
Mali po yung kapag y is equal to negative y double prime.
Y is equal to negative y double prime.
Opo.
Pwede, equal din naman. Pwede rin naman. Okay, but pero yung, or ano lang natin, inaayos lang talaga natin yung equation. Naka-arrange lang siya to the higher derivative. Para ma-identify mo rin kung linear ba siya or in the future, di ba? Hindi na, okay? Nag-get niyo ba yung parang
Okay po.
nakaayos
Pwede,
lang siya?
pwede po yun, sir.
Oo, pwede naman yun. Okay, any more questions? Ito lang, ang pinapakita ko lang sa inyo is inaayos ko lang yung mismong final answer. Okay? So, if you have no questions, let's go to the next example. Yeah. So as you can see, the next example here, this is another equation which contains two arbitrary constants. Ang tanong, what are the arbitrary constants here? So ito ay C sub 1 and C sub 2. So having said na dalawa yung or having seen or noticed that there are two arbitrary constants, I can say that to be able to arrive at its differential equation, so I need to differentiate this equation 2 times. Okay? So after differentiating, kasi may mga instance kasi nga, like yung first example natin, that once we have differentiated the given equation, okay, we were able to eliminate the arbitrary constants. So yun yung parang, mas maganda yung ganun na at least by differentiating alone, you can be able to differentiate. To eliminate the arbitrary constants. But in here, so once na nagawa mo na yung kung ilang beses ka magdi-differentiate at nakita mo na meron pa rin na arbitrary constant, so you have to do something para ma-eliminate mo yung arbitrary constant. Of course, the right way of eliminating, hindi yung buburahin mo lang, di ba? Okay, tanggal na sir, binura ko na. So it's not that. Okay, so you have to show your complete solution, how you were able to achieve that differential equation. So here we are just differentiating the first term and second term at the right-hand side of the equation. So remember how to differentiate an exponential function. So you just copy, we just differentiate. So e raised to u du, so kung ano yung exponent niyan, i-differentiate mo lang siya, so times 1. So no problem here. So here, second term natin, c sub 2, just copy this and then differentiate e raised to negative x, and that is e raised to negative x, and differentiate negative x, and that is negative 1, di ba, with respect to x. So you have to replace the sign. So dapat minus siya. Okay, this is the first differentiation. Okay, now we have to differentiate for the second time. So we have c sub 1 e raised to x, then minus, you copy c sub 2, differentiate e raised to negative x. So ganun ulit, differentiate negative x, and that is negative 1 times negative 1. Okay, magiging positive na yung sa gitna. Okay? Now, so what have you noticed? Yung first equation natin, yung given equation natin is actually equal to the final equation. So it means that by substituting, di ba, c sub 1 e raised to x plus c sub 2 e raised to negative x to that given equation ng y, and we were able to remove or eliminate the arbitrary constant. So therefore, y double prime is equal to y. So that's it. So this is your final answer, or you can say you transpose the y to the left-hand side. So you have y double prime minus y equal to 0. Okay? Questions here? None? Madali lang, no? Ito yung mga first examples na, ito yung mga basic lang. Now let's try the next example. So we have, okay, parang similar lang din yung idea, pero tingnan nyo. Yung exponential functions na involved, we have c sub 1 e raised to 2x plus c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. So, dalawang arbitrary constants, again, so you have to differentiate 2 times, okay? So, first differentiation, so we have y prime is equal to, you copy c sub 1, okay, and then differentiate e raised to 2x, so you copy e raised to 2x, differentiate 2x, that is 2, plus, okay, or we differentiate c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. So just put c sub 2 first, the constant, and then e raised to negative 3x. Differentiate negative 3x, and that will give us minus 3. Okay, so you put minus 3 here. Okay, and next one, so we label this as our first equation, though we have the given function as our first equation. So depende sa'yo kung saan ka mas komportable. So here, yung ginawa ko is yung first derivative ko, yung result niyan. So ginawa ko siyang first equation ko. So now, I am going to differentiate this equation for the second and final time, since dalawang arbitrary constants. So yun lang yung pwede kong gawin. So after that, I'll do, I'll manipulate, or I'll work on the equations later para ma-remove ko yung mga arbitrary constants. So here, I'm differentiating y prime. So that is y double prime. The first term is 2 c sub 1, or just copy ko yung constant, e raised to 2x. Differentiate 2x, that is 2. So multiply that to the coefficient na 2, magiging 4. And then for the second term, so differentiate ko yung second term. Copy ko muna yung c sub 2, e raised to negative 3x. Differentiate negative 3x, and that is minus 3. I will multiply that to the coefficient na minus 3, magiging positive 9. Okay, so this will now be my second equation. Okay, so ayan, tapos ko na yung technique na nag-differentiate ako. So after differentiation, I have noticed na hindi pa rin natanggal yung arbitrary constants. Okay, so I have to eliminate kasi nga, di ba, yung nasa rule natin for ODE, it should be free from arbitrary constants. So I'll be using the equations, okay, para matanggal ko yung C sub 1 tsaka C sub 2. Okay, so piliin mo kung ano yung mas convenient na unang tanggalin. So it depende sa'yo. So here, I will first solve for c sub 1 e raised to 2x. Okay? So paano ko yan magagawa? I will be utilizing, of course, equations 1 and 2. So I'll multiply equation 1 by 3. And then, i-add ko siya dun sa equation 2. So once na-multiply ko na yung entire equation 1 ng 3, I will add that to equation 2. So the idea here is, para ma-solve ko yung c sub 1 e raised to 2x, ma-remove ko yung itong c sub 2. Okay, so as you notice, di ba magkaiba sila ng sign? Ito minus 3, ito positive 9. So kaya ako nag-decide na plus na 3 yung aking i-multiply. Kasi multiplying the entire equation 1 by a factor 3 will make this term positive 9. So, will make this term pala negative 9. So minus 9 plus 9, maka-cancel na yung term na yan, di ba? Okay, so moving on. So multiplying the entire equation 1 by 3, so will give me sa left-hand side, so meron kang 3y prime equal to sa first term, so you have 3 times 2, so you have 6 c sub 1 e raised to 2x. Second term, you have minus 9 c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. So this is now the result of multiplying the entire equation 1 by 3. And then I will add that, i-add ko yung equation 2. So copy ko lang y double prime equals 4c sub 1 e raised to 2x plus 9 c sub 2 e raised to minus 3x. So kapag nag-add ka, you combine like terms, right? So sa left-hand side, yung y prime wala naman siyang kapareho, so you just copy lang yung 3 y prime and then plus y double prime equals, so 6 plus 4, parehong like terms yan, di ba yung c sub 1? So magiging 10 c sub 1 e raised to 2x. Yung second terms ng dalawang equation, so magkaiba yung sign, so pwede natin makancel na yan. Thus, I will have now my c sub 1 e raised to 2x. Makuha ko na siya, di ba? May coefficient lang na 10 dito. So ang gagawin ko lang is divide both sides by 10. Okay, so I will now have 3y prime plus y double prime all over 10. Okay, so this is now my c sub 1 e raised to 2x. So babalikan natin yan mamaya. So here again, these are the two equations after undergoing the derivatives, differentiation. So I will now solve for c sub 2. Okay, nasolve natin yung c sub 1 e raised to 2x for our substitution later, excuse me. C sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. So ang gagawin ko, para matanggal ko yung c sub 1, so I will multiply the entire equation 1 by 2. 2 kung magsasubtract tayo, pero since mag-add tayo dito, so I'll be, multiplying the entire equation 1 by negative. Ayan, negative 2 na lang since mag-add tayo. I-add natin yung equation 2 para ma-subtract natin. Para ma-eliminate natin yung c sub 1. Okay? Again, so this technique is equation 1 multiplied by the entire equation 1 by negative 2. The idea is para magkaiba sila ng sign, kapag pinag-add natin, makancel natin siya. Okay, kasi 2 times 2 will become 4. Okay, pag magkaiba yung sign nila, so we can be able to cancel this term. And then we add the entire equation 2. Okay, so yun lang. Para makuha natin yung c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. What I'm doing here is multiplying now the entire equation 1 by minus 2. So you have negative 2 times negative 3, so that is positive 6 c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. And then I will add equation 2, and that is y double prime equals 4 c sub 1 e raised to 2x plus 9 c sub 2 e raised to minus 3x. Okay, so we now add them. And kung may paper kayo and pen, so pwede nyo sasabayan yung pagsosolve ko para at least hindi lang kayo nakikinig at nanonood, di ba nagsosolve din kayo para ma-check nyo rin yung result ng ginagawa nyo. Okay, so combining like terms here, so minus 2y prime, wala siyang kapareho, just copy, and then plus y double prime equals the first terms, cancel natin, and then itong next part naman na may coefficient na, okay, 6 tsaka 9, so you just add them, so 15 c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x. So this is now the result of adding two equations. Okay, so our goal here is to solve for c sub 2. I think may kulang ako sa equation. So this should be c sub 2 e raised to minus 3x. Okay. Annotate ko na lang. So this one right here is e raised to minus 3x. Okay. So let's continue. Now we will substitute c sub 1 e raised to, ano yung kanina? 2x. And yung c sub 2 e raised to minus 3x. Dun sa ating first equation, yung given equation natin, which is y equals c sub 1 e raised to 2x plus c sub 2 e raised to minus 3x. Okay? Now, we have y equals, ano yung value ni c sub 1 e raised to 2x, if you remember? That is equal to 3, 3y prime plus y double prime, over 10. And then yung c sub 2 e raised to negative 3x is plus, we have minus 2y prime plus y double prime all over 15. Okay? So this is now, ito yung equation na, ano napansin ninyo? Wala nang arbitrary constant dyan, di ba? Okay. Wala ka na makitang arbitrary constant doon. Okay. So, continue natin yung pagbubura ni Sir Phyl. Okay. So now we will simplify. Siyempre, your final answer should be simplified. So, kopyahin muna natin. So we have y equals, y double prime all over 10. And then you think now of ano yung kanyang least common denominator, or ano yung multiply natin, the entire equation. So we have, so 15 tenths, ano yung least common multiple niyan? We have, ang dalawa, 10 and 15 are 30, di ba? So if we multiply the entire equation by 30, so will give us 30y. Itong part na to, nag-simplify na tayo, di ba? So 30 divided by 10, so we have 3 times 3y prime plus y double prime. Ito lang yung may matrabaho sa mga equations na medyo complex na part, yung pag-simplify. Okay, so you have to simplify it. 30 divided by 15 is 2 multiplied to minus 2y prime plus y double prime. Okay, so ayan na yung ating equation. So combine like terms lang tayo. Distribute natin yung 3 dun sa first term. So you have 9y prime plus 3y double prime minus 4y prime and then plus 2y double prime. Now we combine like terms. So we have y double prime tsaka y double prime dun sa last term. We have y prime and y prime. So copy 30y equals, for y prime, we have 9 minus 4, so we have 5y prime. For y double prime, we have 3 plus 2, so 5y double prime. So as you can see, may common factor sa kanila, di ba? If you divide both sides by 5, we will now have, we are able to simplify na. So 30 divided by 5, so we have 6y equals y prime plus y double prime. So ayan, simplified answer. Imagine. Ayusin na lang natin. So pwede mo unahin yung y double prime plus y prime minus 6y equal to 0. So this is now your final answer. Okay? Any question? Nag-message para dito. Okay? Walang tanong. So let's proceed to the, I think this is the final example here. Yung maging challenge dito yung pag-simplify lang. So kailangan, di ba, you have to algebra lang yung part na to. Okay? Ang pagsisimplify. Magagawa mo na, pag nagawa mo na yung differentiation, the challenge, yung next na challenge will be how to simplify your final answer or paano mo ma-eliminate yung mismong arbitrary constant. Okay, so we'll now have the last example here. X minus c sub 1 raised to 2 plus y minus c sub 2 raised to 2 equal to 1. So as you can see, there are two arbitrary constants, and that's c sub 1 and c sub 2. Ito yung arbitrary constants. Okay, so now, ibig sabihin, we are going to differentiate this equation 2 times para ma-achieve natin yung kanyang differential equation. So pag hindi pa rin natin na-eliminate yung arbitrary constant, hindi ibig sabihin that we have to differentiate. Hindi na tapos na yung differentiation. So you are to use algebra na para ma-eliminate mo yung arbitrary constants. So we will differentiate now this dalawang beses. The first one, yung first term natin is x minus c sub 1 raised to positive 2. Yan. So chain rule lang to ng differentiation. So 2 times x minus c sub 1. Ayan, so mabawasan yung exponent. Then differentiate x. That is 1. Second term natin is 2 times y minus c sub 2. So the exponent will become 1 since mag-reduce, di ba? Yung exponent kapag nag-differentiate tayo. Yung power rule sa or chain rule, okay? And then we differentiate y minus c sub 2. So y is the unknown function. If you differentiate that, it will become dy over dx or simply y prime. And then sa right side naman, so you have 1, constant lang siya. So the result is 0. Now this is first derivative ng ating equation. So as you noticed, common yung 2 sa first two terms. So pwede natin i-divide both sides by 2 para ma-eliminate natin. Para dito na ma-simplify na natin siya. Okay, so pwede mo na i-cancel ka agad or divide both sides by 2. So you have x minus c sub 1. Okay, sige. Lagyan natin sa grouping symbol. Plus, ayan, y minus c sub 2 times y prime. 0 times 1/2 is 0 pa din. This is the first derivative. Now, this will be our equation number 1. Okay? Now we will now differentiate this equation 1 finally. So 1, derivative ng c sub 1 is 0 plus, okay. Ito naman sa second term, so product rule na lang gamitin natin. So you copy y minus c sub 2. Okay. UdV plus VDU yung formula natin. Then differentiate y prime, that will become y double prime plus y prime differentiate y minus c sub 2, and that is y prime. Diba? So y prime times y prime, it's actually y prime squared. Okay? So ayusin na natin yung ating final equation or derivative. So 1 plus y minus c sub 2 y double prime plus y prime squared, or pwede mong tanggalin na rin yung quantity dyan or yung parenthesis. Understood na yun, y prime squared. Okay, that's equation 2. Now, for equation 2, we will now solve for, so from this given equation, we'll solve for y minus c sub 2. Okay, so madaming ways para ma-solve natin, para matanggal natin yung arbitrary constant. So ito lang yung isa sa mga solutions. Okay? So marami pang way. Hindi lang naman ito hindi lang limited sa ganitong na solution. Okay. Okay, so after natin ma-solve for y minus c sub 2 itong equation 2, ibig sabihin ayusin natin into that format. We will substitute to equation 1. Okay? So let's proceed. Okay. So equation 2, so solve for y minus c sub 2. Ibig sabihin i-transpose natin itong 1 tsaka yung y prime squared sa right hand side ng equation. So magiging minus 1 minus y prime squared. Okay. Now, since we have to solve for y minus c sub 2, we divide both sides by y prime. Thus we have y minus c sub 2 equals, yan, common yung negative. So, pwede natin i-factor out ng negative sign. So, we have, ayan, 1 plus y prime squared all over y double prime. Okay, so this is now our y minus c sub 2. Okay, the next step will be, so we'll label this as equation number 3. Okay, so we are done for this particular part. Yung idea kasi nito is mamaya, we will now substitute yung mga equations na to dun sa equation number 1. So the next step will be, we are going to solve for x minus c sub 1. Okay? So from equation 1, gamitin natin. Ito na pala. We will substitute now dun sa equation 1. So here, the value of y minus c sub 2, so i-plug in lang natin dito sa equation 1. Ito na yon. So minus 1 plus y prime. Okay, pause muna, Sir Phyl. So we have minus 1 minus times the quantity 1 plus y prime squared all over y double prime. Ito yung value ni y minus c sub 2. Ito yung equation 1 natin. So we plug in the value of y minus c sub 2 dito sa equation na to. And then, that's it. We have now, so this will be our equation. Sige, ayusin muna natin. So we multiply both sides by, okay. Okay, we solve for x minus c sub 1 pala dito. So transpose natin itong second term na to dito sa right-hand side. So itong negative na to magiging positive na. So we have 1 plus y prime squared times the quantity. Ito pala y prime all over y double prime. Now we have these equations na x minus c sub 1 tsaka y minus c sub 2. Okay, medyo mahaba, di ba? We label this as equation 4. So now, what we will do is we substitute equations 3 and 4 to the given, yung given natin. So we have x minus c sub 1 raised to 2 plus y minus c sub 2 raised to 2 equal to, okay, 1. Okay, so we just plug in these values of x minus c sub 1. And that is, ito yung copyhin lang natin to. Plug in natin dito. And then, for y minus c sub 2, and naka-squared siya. So don't forget to put 2 here. Okay, plus, we have minus 1 plus y prime squared. Okay. All over y double prime. Ayan. Raised to, equal to 1. So, ayan. Raised to 2 yan, Sir Phyl. Nakalimutan mo. Okay, so let me just annotate. Baka nakalimutan ni Sir Phyl na raised to 2. Okay. Yan na. Yan, naka-squared na sila pareho. Okay, now, what we will do is, since yung may, di ba, common denominator, ayan, may denominator sila na y double prime squared. So, ano yung gagawin natin? So, we have 1 plus y prime squared. Naka-factored form naman siya, so raised to 2. And this becomes y prime squared. Okay? All over y double prime squared. Then plus, so yung numerator nito, since negative, magiging positive din kapag in-square natin. So 1 plus y prime squared raised to 2 all over y double prime raised to 2 equal to 1. Ayan, so pwede nating i-multiply both sides by y double prime squared para matanggal natin yung denominator dito. So we have now 1. So as you notice, di ba, sa pag-simplify lang tayo tumatagal actually. So kailangan kasi simplified yung sagot mo. Okay, so we have here, yan, multiply lang natin to para makancel yung mga denominators for each term. So we have y double prime raised to 2. Okay? So pagdating dito, meron kang ma-notice na may common. Okay? So habang binubura ni Sir Phyl, sige. So common yung 1 plus y prime squared raised to 2. So i-factor out natin yan. 1 plus y prime squared. Parang naka-factoring by grouping siya, di ba? Ayan. So factor out lang natin. So matitira dito sa unang term is y prime squared plus, anong matitira? Plus 1. Kung magpa-plus 1 ka, okay, tama. Y double prime squared. Again, ang na-factor out natin is 1 plus y prime squared raised to 2. Okay, so Sir Phil, pakilagyan ng raised to 2 dito. Tama. So what have you noticed? Ayan. So pareho sila, di ba? Naka-factor. So same lang. Ibig sabihin, we can combine them. Okay? So 2 plus 1 lang. So magiging 3. Pareho kasi sila ng 1 plus y prime squared. So that's it. Ayusin lang natin. This will be our final answer. Or you can say, unahin na muna yung y double prime squared. So, y double prime squared minus 1 plus y prime squared raised to 3 equal to 0. Okay, any question guys? Sa example na to. Sa algebra lang, di ba? Okay, so that's it. If you have no questions, let's now proceed to the next topic. So the same pa rin yung technique doon. Given ka lang ng relation or yung family of curves. So isi-sketch natin siya and then alamin mo based dun sa equation na na-formulate or na isulat mo sa pagkakaalala mo ng mga equations ng family of curves na yon. You are now going to obtain its differential equation. So the same technique lang. Okay, so next slide na, Sir Phil. Okay, so the next one will be dealing with families of curves. Okay. Now, it says here that an equation involving a parameter may represent a family of curves with one curve corresponding to each value of a parameter. So just to give an example of this idea here, yan, one parameter, diba? One curve, yan, corresponding to each value of a parameter. So katulad nitong example natin dito. So ito ay family of circles. Yan, concentric circles. Pag sinabing concentric, they have the same center. Okay? Ito, kung maging more specific pa tayo, ito ay concentric circles na yung center ay nasa origin. Kasi pwede rin naman concentric circle pero at a given center. Pwede yung center ay nasa 1, 1, 2, 1, or negative 2, 1. So pwedeng dito yung center. Okay? So yung bawat circle na to, di ba yung yan sinasabi natin na isang curve sa bawat value ng parameter. So ano yung parameter na involved dito? Sa tingin nyo? So since may given equation na tayo, ano yung C na yan? Anong nire-represent niya?
Radius.
We are talking about the circle, di ba? So radius. So bawat value ng radius, isang circle yun. Okay? So ito lang yung parang pinaka-sketch natin to represent, di ba? Family of circles, concentric circles, na yung center ay nasa origin. Okay? So that's it. Ngayon, the idea here is obtain the differential equation of a family of curves or yung specific na family of kung ano man yung binigay sa problem. So ganun lang din ulit, bibilangin mo kung ilan yung parameters. Kung ilan yung parameters, yun yung kung ilang beses ka magdi-differentiate. So the same lang, parang nag-eliminate tayo ng arbitrary constant. Okay, any question before we proceed to the first example? So we have to recall yung mga natin, yung equations ng lines, equation ng parabola, equation ng hyperbola, equation ng ellipses, equation ng circles, okay? So ano yung mga parameters na involved doon? Like sa, kunyari, pag pinag-usapan natin yung circle, so pwedeng yung magbabago dyan yung center, di ba, nila? Pwedeng at HK, okay? At a specific point. Pwedeng yung mga circle na yan ay, ang center niya ay nasa specific line. Okay, so yun yung mga variations doon. Let me just draw something here. Okay, so ayan, katulad nito. So I'll be, pwedeng yung hinahanap natin, yung equation na family of circles na yung center ay nasa y-axis. So pwedeng maliit na circle, malaking circle, small circle, big circle. Ayan, so nasa y-axis yung center nila. So ano yung equation niyan? Ano yung mga ano yung mga parameters na involved diyan? Siyempre, dahil sa iba-iba yung mga sizes ng circle mo, yung radius nagbabago, 'di ba? So yun yung isa sa mga parameters natin. Yun yung arbitrary constant. And aside from that, yung center niyan, ano yung constant lang dito? Ano yung constant dito sa ano?
K.
'Di ba may HK ka na ano, na center, 'di ba? Ano yung alam niyo ba yung HK na center? Yung H ay para dun sa value ng
X.
X.
X, yung K naman is para dun sa Y. So
Y.
constant ba yung H mo? Constant yung
Opo.
H, 'di ba? So zero yun lang yung
Zero.
zero lang to. So ito nagbabago yung value ni K. 'Di ba?
K.
Dito kasi yung position niyan. So your equation will be X minus, since constant si H, so X squared, ganun lang yon, plus Y minus K. Yan, squared equal to the radius squared. Ayan, so dalawa yung parameters. Radius tsaka yung value ni K. Ganun lang yon. Kapag yung ano naman, yung mismong given naman is, kunyari, tangent siya dun sa line or kaya yung center niya ay nasa given line na ganito. So pwede rin ganyan. Or pwedeng the same yung mga value ng the same circle. Okay, ibig sabihin constant na yung radius, di ba? So 1. Hindi na siya parameter na kinakailangan natin. So ang magbabago na lang dyan is yung, ano sa tingin niyo yung parameter? Yung line na to is, di ba, given yung equation. So you have to make sure that you have the given equation. You have written the right equation for the family of curve na nabanggit. Okay? Pag mga parabola naman, sige. Pag parabola, so meron tayong parabola na opening up, opening down, opening to the right, opening to the left. So, yung mga transverse. So, hyperbola naman. Ayan. Na-recall niyo pa yung hyperbola. Ellipse, kung ano yung major axis, transverse axis niya. So, you have to recall those equations. Yung sa geometry ninyo. Okay? Para isulat mo yung tamang equation. Yun pa kasi yung magiging challenge kasi yung bibigay lang sa inyo na sa problem, sa quiz. Find the DE or obtain the DE of the family of lines yan, passing through this particular point. Okay? So, yun yung idea. So, burahin ko muna. Okay, for example, find the DE or obtain the DE of all lines passing through a particular point. So, kanya may point ako dito na binigay. So, lahat daw ng lines na dumaan dyan sa point na yan. So, ano yung magiging equation? Ano ba yung equation ng line? So, kung di mo alam yung equation ng line, nga. Di ba? Sorry, sir. Bawi na lang next time. Okay? So, ano ba equation ng mga lines? Di ba yung slope-intercept? Yan, y is equal to mx plus b. Yung b is the y-intercept. Okay? May intercept form tayo. Meron tayong slope-intercept form. Yung m is the slope. So, as you can see dito sa given na ano natin, na sketch or illustration, Ano yung nagbabago dyan? Yung slope, di ba? Tapos yung intercept niyan. Constant ba yung intercept?
No, sir, hindi pa.
Okay. May mga tanong ba kayo dito? Nag-gets niyo yung idea dito? Same lang doon sa elimination of arbitrary constants. Okay, so now let's proceed to an example here. May dalawang examples ako na ginawa. Anong oras na ba? 11. Okay, so let me just erase everything that I've written here. Let's proceed to the first example. Okay, find the DE for the given family of curve and sketch the representative family of curves. Okay, so let's start. I have here two examples, family of lines that passes through the origin. Alamin mo yung DE or differential equation niya. And the second one is yung DE ng all circles or family of circles with centers na nasa x-axis. Okay, madali lang din to. Sige, I'll be posting more examples dito siguro. I hope I can solve later. Challenging problems. Let's work on the first example, family of lines that passes through the origin. Ayan, nag-gloves na ako kasi nagre-react yung sa kamay ko. Ink. Okay, so ang pinag-usapan dito is family of lines. Okay, so pwede mo munang i-sketch yung family of lines na yan para maisulat mo yung appropriate na equation or starting equation mo. So here, I have written here y is equal to mx plus b, the slope-intercept form. Okay? So yung m represents the slope. Just to recall lang, b is representing the y-intercept. Now, okay, sketch ko muna yung family of lines that passes through the origin. So, okay, so mag-draw lang tayo ng Cartesian plane. Tapos madaming lines daw that passes through the origin. So ito yung origin. So just draw lines. Ano yung distinct sa mga lines na yan? Ano yung distinct? Slope nila, di ba? Basta yung common is yung mismong line na yan nagdumaan sa origin. Pero yung distinct na part nila is may bawat line, bawat slope represents one line, di ba? Ganun lang yun. So ibig sabihin yung intercept niyan is 0. Bakit 0 yung intercept? Anyone? Hello? Alam niyo ba kung bakit 0 yung intercept?
Kasi nagpa-pass siya sa y-axis.
Yes. Tumaan siya sa 0, di ba? Yung
Origin.
origin. Okay. Ganun yung basihan natin, di ba? Kapag substitute mo tong 0, 0 na to dito, so 0 yung y, 0 yung x, ibig sabihin, intercept is equal to 0. Gets? Okay, na-gets na nila. Sige, Sir Phil, pagpatuloy mo lang yan. Ilan lang yung parameter dito? Isa lang, yung slope. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, we are going to differentiate this equation once lang kasi isa lang yung arbitrary constant. Isa lang yung parameter. So, differentiating y equal to mx, m times x. So, m, derivative ni x is 1. So, ito lang yun. Y prime is equal to m. Okay? So, gamitin natin yung given equation para ma-plug in natin yung value ni m. So, di ba alam natin, di ba, na may arbitrary constant pa dyan. So, kailangan ma-eliminate yung arbitrary constant. So, plugging in the value of m, which is y over x. That's why we have now the final answer na yung y prime could mean dy over dx yan. And equal to y over x. Or, pwede mong in terms of differentials, yung pagsulat mo ng equation. So, x dy equals y dx. Or now you have this final answer. Or, y dx minus x dy yan, equal to 0. So, you can write your final answers in that form. Okay? Questions here? None? Ayan. Note lang natin, di ba? Di ba alam nyo naman yung slope is equal to first derivative, di ba? So dito pa lang, pwede mo nang masabi na isulat ko na lang. Kasi baka yung iba sa inyo, di ba? Sir, alam ko na po yan. Okay, alam nyo ba na yung slope is equal to the first derivative? Sino nakakaalam sa inyo?
Opo, sir.
Oh, alam nyo, di ba? Ibig sabihin, pwede mo nang ilagay dito na y prime, di ba? Kasi alam mo na yung y prime is already a slope. Right? So dito pa lang, plug in mo na yung y prime dyan. So meron ka ng sagot na y is equal to, ayan, x, y prime. Which is, ganun lang, same lang din naman dito. Ito na yung final answer mo. So pwede na rin ganyan yung sagot mo. Okay, ito lang nakaayos lang siya sa format na mdx para sa future use. Yan. mdx plus ndy na ndy na format equal to 0. Okay? Any questions? None? Naintindihan ba? Na-follow nyo ba? Now let's proceed to the next page for, I think may nagtanong yata dito sa question. Sir, excuse lang po after nito, saan po makikita yung recorded session po natin. Okay, doon po sa sa may M rooms. Di ba nakita niyo yung previous na lecture? Ando lang naka-paste sa lesson. Nakita niyo ba yon? Sino
Opo, sir.
so doon lang naka-paste yung yung link. Actually, makikita, pwede mo nang panoorin doon sa M rooms. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the next example. Okay, all circles whose centers are at the x-axis. So, sketch ko muna. Lahat daw ng circles or family of circles na yung center ay nasa x-axis. So, pwedeng, ayan, magkakaiba yung size ng circle. Okay? Okay na. Sige, last na to. So, ano yung idea dito? Remember, di ba, kapag hindi nasa origin yung, pag hindi sa origin yung center ng circle, ito yung ating equation, di ba, ng circle. So, x minus h raised to 2 plus y minus k raised to 2 equal to r squared. hk yung center. Now, since dito, sa x-axis, lahat ng circle yung center niya, so we can say that, ano yung constant dito? Yung value ang constant dito is yung k mo, 0. Diba? Okay, so I have written here, diba, meron tayong dalawang parameters. Since ang nagbabago dito, yung radius ng circle, so may ibang maliliit, may ibang malaking circle. Tapos yung position niya, diba, yung center ay nasa at different value of h, di ba? Ito. So, basta yung idea is h0. So, pwedeng -2, 0, +1, 0. So, yun yung ibig sabihin nun na yung center ay nasa h0. Okay? So, dahil sa meron tayong dalawang parameters, ano ibig sabihin nun? Para ma-obtain natin yung DE, we need to differentiate this twice. Okay? O, nakuha nyo na pala. Ang galing ni Jay, ah. So, dahil dyan, we'll now differentiate. So, chain rule lang. So, 2 times x minus h, differentiate x minus h, and that is 1 plus derivative ni y squared, and that is 2y, y prime, equal to derivative ni x squared is, ni r squared is 0. Sorry for that. Common yung 2, so we just canceled 2. Then we rewrite before we proceed to the next differentiation. So we have x minus h plus y, y prime equal to 0. Okay? Ito pa lang ay first differentiation. So we need to differentiate again. Okay, so differentiating this equation, we have 1 minus 0 plus product rule lang, y double prime plus y prime squared equal to 0. So in this method na nag-differentiate tayo, we're able to eliminate the arbitrary constant. So 1 plus y double prime plus y prime squared equal to 0. So ayan na. Rewrite na lang natin. So our final answer will be y double prime plus y prime squared plus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so that's all for today. Yun lang ating dalawang examples. So I will be posting more examples. Siguro magdagdag pa ako ng examples for this particular topic. Importante na gets yung idea for a family of curves. Na you have one curve for each particular value of the parameter. So katulad nito, ito yung differential equation niya. Ng second order siya. Second order because there are two parameters. So we have undergone two times of differentiation para ma-achieve natin itong kanyang different or DE or ordinary derivative, ordinary differential equation. So now it's your time to ask questions. Since we still have, a few minutes left. I'll stop the recording. So thank you guys.